straight on. I'm Hayley Neal. I'm the Chief Executive of Cambridgeshire Acre. So I've introduced myself. Perhaps you could all write in the chat and say who you are and where you're from, just so that we all get to know each other. Um, we are recording this session tonight, so if you don't want to be seen, please keep your turn your cameras off. If not, it's lovely to keep them on so that we can see your reactions, but please do keep your microphones off unless you're invited to speak, because we do get horrible feedback. So there's going to be lots of times for questions later. So and we'll do questions at the end. So if you've got anything to ask, please raise your hand, or or put the questions in the chat, and I will facilitate them at the end. And we will send around the slides presented at the session recording tomorrow. So for those who don't know us, Cambridgeshire Acre is a charity that's been working alongside rural communities across the county for over 100 years. At heart, our role is simple. We help rural communities help themselves, and we stand alongside them when things feel complicated or stretched. A lot of what we do is about rural leadership. In practice, that means being a trusted partner. We bring people together, share good ideas between villages, help communities find funding, and make sure rural voices are heard when decisions are being made. We aim to be the organisation local groups can turn to when they have an idea or a challenge and want someone to help them work it through. We support community buildings like village halls and community centres, which are often the heart of rural life. We work with the volunteers who run them, helping with governance, funding and long-term sustainability, so those spaces can continue to host everything from social groups to advice sessions. We also work on rural housing, helping communities understand their local housing need and, where appropriate, explore small-scale affordable homes for local people. It's about shaping the development with the communities, not doing things to them. Another key area is wellbeing and inclusion. Through our community hubs and village agents, we support people who might be isolated, digitally excluded, or struggling with the cost of living. It's practical, person-centred support that often stops small issues become a bigger crises. We're increasingly involved in the environment too, supporting communities with projects around water, flooding, biodiversity and green spaces, helping rural areas become more resilient and climate aware. And we care about the rural economy. Thriving villages need jobs, skills and sustainable local businesses. So we support communities to think about how they stay vibrant and viable in the long term. So really, we work at the point where people, place and possibility meet. We're here to help rural communities stay strong, connected and able to shape their own futures. So why do we run these Staying Connected events and why does it matter? Firstly, it's about expert insight. Rural communities often face complex issues and it's not always easy to know where to turn. These sessions share practical examples, research and real-life case studies so you can learn from what's already working elsewhere. Secondly, it's about practical guidance. We bring in specialists, sometimes from our own team, sometimes from partners, um, and to give you useful, down-to-earth advice you can actually apply in your own community. It's also a space for discussion. We make time for you to share your experiences, ask questions and learn from each other. That peer support is often just as valuable as the formal input. And finally, it's about connection. Rural roles can feel quite isolated, so these events help people build relationships, swap ideas and feel part of a wider rural network. And that's what Staying Connected is all about, learning together and supporting each other to keep rural communities strong. Um, I'm delighted to introduce our speaker this evening. We have Sandy Skelton, the Community Nature Project Officer at Cambridgeshire County Council, who's been leading work with parishes and communities across the county to support local nature recovery planning. This evening, she'll be sharing what the project is, what support is available, how your parish or town council can get involved, and how communities can turn local ambition for nature into practical action. There'll be time for questions at the end, so please do add those into the chat as we go along. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Sandy. And thank you for being here. Right, stop sharing.
Thank you, Hayley, for that introduction. I'll just share my slides now. Hopefully you'll be able to see them. Okay, can you see the slides there? Could you give me a thumbs up if you can see them?
I can, thank you, yes.
All good. Okay, so thank you. As Hayley said, I'm Sandy Skelton. I'm the Community Nature Project Officer at Cambridgeshire County Council, and I'm actually joined on the call by Stephanie Barrett, who's the Community Nature Engagement Officer who works alongside me, and Phil Clark, who's the Biodiversity Manager. And so together we are delivering the Nature Recovery from the Ground Up project, which seems very aligned with the ethos of, Cambridgeshire Acre and this kind of wider Staying Connected series. So this idea of shaping things with people, not doing things to them, that's very much part of the ethos of this project. So the aim is to support communities in Cambridgeshire to prepare community nature recovery plans that are locally meaningful and strategically aligned with the local nature recovery strategy. So if we look at that in a bit more detail, the local nature recovery strategy was published at the end of last year. It covers Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and it sets the wider ecological vision for the combined authority area. It's based around Lawton principles, so this idea of bigger, better, more joined up. And as part of this project, we are helping to deliver one of the actions from the local nature recovery strategy, which is to support parishes and town councils to put together community nature recovery plans. These plans will then help parish councils to deliver on their statutory biodiversity duty. They can also feed into neighbourhood and local plans, and also feed into future revisions of the local nature recovery strategy. That's not due to happen for 3 to 10 years, but it's never too early to start collecting that sort of more granular, detailed information about what people find meaningful about nature locally in order to feed into all of those. So a bit of a timeline for the project. We started just after the summer or over the summer, and the first part of the project has been very much focused on a listening exercise, going out and meeting parish councils and with community groups across Cambridgeshire to find out what sort of support needs they've got, and also to find out what's available already, and see how we can contribute to that and put together a set of resources. The plan is to deliver the first phase of the project by March 2027, and we'll be looking to get the funding for the second phase of the project over the summer. We'll be starting to show the impact that we're having and looking to release that funding. The project's funded internally through a Cambridgeshire County Council Just Transition Fund. So that first phase of the project is primarily focused on these parishes. It's 20 parishes across Cambridgeshire and then Cambridge City. I say primarily focused because those are the ones that we're doing the extra hand-holding with. What we're finding is that a lot of parishes are really keen to get going with this. And so we've made sure that as many of our resources as possible are available to all parishes, so that the ones that do want to just get on with things can use those resources and do their work in a way that's kind of consistent with what we're doing in the project. There's a register interest form on our website, and Stephanie, if I could ask you to put that into the chat, then that would be helpful, so people can register interest. That will get you onto our mailing list and also let us know that there's people in your parish that are interested in possibly being involved in future phases of the project. So the project is a co-creation project, which means that we're very much working with communities, both in finding out exactly what the nature of the problem is and targeting exactly which problem what we're going to try and address through the project, and then developing and delivering solutions. We've used this model, which was put together by the British Design Council, to kind of think about those different stages. It's quite helpful for being very clear about, say, protecting that listening phase at the beginning and not going straight into trying to come up with solutions. But we have found that it's a bit too linear. So what we're doing is actually much more iterative. There's lots of kind of room to develop things. So at the moment, we are kind of moving into the delivery phase. We've started to develop some resources, but we're still finding that we're getting a lot of feedback that takes us sort of back to discovery. So a little bit about what we've heard. We've now run 2 sets of cluster meetings across, so we've grouped the parishes in 6 groups. And this is a bit about what we've heard. So that there's a real depth of nature recovery experience in Cambridgeshire, but that's quite unevenly spread. So we found that there's a lot of experience, and so a lot of room for brokering, kind of sharing experience across parishes, and that's actually a really great way for parishes to learn from each other as well. That there's an appetite to collaborate, that there's a lot of demand for this sort of support. So a lot of parishes are already putting together these plans, linking them to actions in the local nature recovery strategy. So there's seems to be a lot of appetite for this. As I mentioned before, there's 20 parishes that we're initially focusing on in the first phase, but a further 37 have already registered interest using that form that I mentioned before. And very importantly, we found that this kind of initiative of putting together community nature recovery plans isn't always parish council led. Quite often it's led by local community groups, so it's very important with our resources to make sure that we're actually helping to support those community groups as well as working with the parish councils. A little bit more about what we heard. Oh, someone's got a mic on, perhaps. Perhaps you can mute yourself. Thanks. So a little bit more about what we've heard. So in the first round of cluster meetings, we ran an offers and needs market, so a post-it note exercise where people talked about what they could offer to support community nature projects and also what sort of support they needed. Quite interestingly, with the total number, I can't remember exactly what it was, over 200 of offers almost perfectly matched the number of needs. But there were these differences here that we can see. So we grouped them together and we can see that the offers outstrip the needs, particularly for community engagement. So that really shows how helpful it is to work with community groups in order to reach into communities, and where the needs outstrip the offers were around policy engagement. So that's a lot about groups wanting help to engage, say, with highways or with rural estates or different parts of local government in order to further their projects. We are, as I mentioned, we're now sort of moving into this delivery phase. So the next few slides kind of have some information about the support that we've got available. So these are the dates for our next round of cluster meetings. From now on, we're going to hold them as a peer learning circle. So the idea is that the different groups that are putting together community nature recovery plans come together and talk about, what they need support on. And then actually a lot of the help comes from, groups helping each other rather than necessarily us coming in with the answers. So you can see the dates there for the upcoming meetings. I'll ask Stephanie to put the link in the chat to our Eventbrite page where you'll be able to see all our events. so if you're not in one of our kind of phase 1 parishes, but you are following this process and putting together a community nature recovery plan, you're very welcome to come along to your local meeting. That's fine. Do join us. We're also putting together a showcase of, so it's called Nature Recovery from the Ground Up Showcase webinar series. And so the topics of this webinar series have very much come out of the listening exercise. So there's a couple that are about the parish online mapping software, which I'll talk about in a minute in a bit more detail. Other ones, so this Friday, there's one on how to specify a rain garden project. Part of what we want to do with this work is help parishes to come together to put together thematic funding bids. And so this webinar is about finding out what a rain garden is and how to specify it, so that we could then see about putting together a larger funding bid for multiple rain gardens across many parishes. There's also a talk next Friday run by my colleague, who's the principal ecologist, on a local a parish view of the local nature recovery strategy. So that will give a bit more detail on the thinking behind the strategy. We've got a talk coming up from a group in Histon about a community land purchase of Abbey Fields, and also a talk coming up about winning Section 106 funding for nature projects. So these types of projects are about showcasing what groups have successfully done, so that other parishes can learn from that experience. We've also put together a resource bank for different types of support that parishes might want. It's not high tech, it's just some Google Sheets, but it means that we can update the information as people share different resources that they find useful. All of these are on our website, and again, I'll ask Stephanie to share the link. All the links are also in the presentation, which will be shared after the event. So no need to kind of jot everything down. And also they're all linked from the project website. So if you can get to the project website, you should be able to find everything else. So the different types of resources, there's a resource bank. So that's got all sorts of guidance. Actually, there's quite a lot of Cambridgeshire Acre things on there. So things that people have done from previous projects. Then there's an offers menu. So this is where people are offering their support to different nature projects. So all sorts of stuff on there, from habitat mapping to a behaviour change webinar, and everything in between. Then there's also a funding opportunities log, where we're putting all the funding that we're coming across that groups might want to apply for, and there's guidance documents for preparing a plan. One thing I wanted to mention, given that this talk was sort of targeted at clerks and parish councillors as well, is just to pull out, this is from our guidance. So we're very aware that a lot of parishes already have some sort of a biodiversity plan or statement. And so I thought it might be helpful to just mention this. So one of the early actions for putting together a community nature recovery plan following our guidance is to have a look at what's there already. And this is our scoring system for assessing the sort of starting point. And it kind of goes from having no plan or policy to then this sort of more descriptive policy statement or broad actions, to then moving to the SMART, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant actions, and then finally SMART actions that are linked back to the local nature recovery strategy. That link back to the local nature recovery strategy is helpful, partly because it helps to deliver the strategy, but also from a parish perspective, because funders are very aware this is a national policy that everyone should have a local nature recovery strategy, and so funders will be wanting to see how projects sit relative to that strategy. So the final kind of piece of the puzzle that we've got to offer is Parish Online, which is a mapping tool. It's an online mapping tool. Some of you might be aware of it. 25% of parishes in Cambridgeshire already subscribe to it. And it's used for all sorts of parish business, for asset logs and a lot more. Over the next year, we have free access to this Parish Online mapping tool for those parishes that don't currently subscribe. Can kind of have an extended trial for the year, whilst we test how useful it is for actually helping to deliver the local nature recovery strategy. So what we've done is we've added reference layers to Parish Online from the local nature recovery strategy. So that's with permission from the combined authority. We've added the key layers, which are basically a layer that shows the existing areas of importance for biodiversity and the areas of biodiversity potential. So that kind of snapshot there that you can see shows an example. I can't actually see what parish that is, but I don't suppose it really matters. The point is that the different the kind of land parcels that you can see there, those codes on them are actually the local nature recovery strategy actions, and so when you click on those land parcels in Parish Online, you're able to see the sort of local nature recovery strategy view of your parish and what is being recommended for your parish, and that's a really helpful starting point for thinking about your local plan. And we've also added these editable layers. So that's where you can then start to add information. There's a layer for community nature projects. So that's, almost like the end point. That's where we're trying to get to, that we've got a pipeline of defined projects. There's an engaged landowner layer where you can log, people who are actively engaged. There's a concerns layer, so that might be more of a starting point, really, to start to map out where there's points of concern for nature. And very importantly, there's a corrections layer. So this view of your parish, it will be a top-down view, and it's based on different data sets, but sometimes with assumptions around it that mean that actually this is not a correct view of your parish. And so what we want is to make sure that we can collect that information, that local knowledge on what's actually there on the ground. And so that's what that corrections layer is for. So you can use the corrections layer and then refer to any of the reference layer and explain what the issue is and why it should be corrected. One thing that's important within both the community nature projects layer and the concerns layer, there's lots of different fields that you can put information in, and one of those is the local nature recovery strategy broad level action. So it's not, there's hundreds of actions in the LNRS, but we've categorized them, and so it means that we will then be able to see projects across the county that are delivering on different types of actions. And so this is the last slide. I just wanted to just show you a bit of an example. So this is in Parish Online. Duxford are our sort of front runner parish on this. They had already done a lot in Parish Online before our project started. And Councillor Ian Walters has very kindly been going round well, partly through our cluster meetings, but I think he's doing lots off his own back as well, going round and sharing his experience in Duxford. This is their wildlife gardens layer, where they've been kind of showing the gardens that are managed for nature, and it's just a nice way to start to break up. You see how that white space that isn't highlighted in the LNRS as being important for nature is actually kind of getting filled in through this more granular local view. Ian actually gave one of our webinars last week, and that was recorded. We're just in the process of getting our webinar recordings up onto our website as well. So that should happen probably by the end of this week. And so you'll be able to watch that back as well if you're interested, if you haven't heard his talk already and you're interested in hearing more about his experience of doing that. And thank you. That's the end of the presentation. This is our email address if you have any questions. I mean, I'm here for questions. We're here for questions now too. But
thank you, Sandy. That was really interesting. I've really enjoyed it. I've made lots of notes. But we do have some questions. So the first one was Rosemary from Soham, who I know Phil has been talking to her, but she's spoken to her parish clerk, who's not heard anything about nature recovery, so wasn't keen to take on more as it isn't necessary yet. What are your thoughts on that? When is it likely to become sort of one of the things that you have to do?
So it's already necessary under that parish biodiversity duty, and I guess the community nature recovery plans go into more depth. I know that I think it's Rosemary, someone from Soham definitely is coming along to our cluster meetings, and I know that they're working with some other parishes as well. So, you know, sometimes these things get taken forward more through the community groups first. But in terms of sort of statutory duty, there is a duty under the trying to think where I wrote down the exact wording. I think it might even have been in the slide. Let me just, sorry.
It comes from the Environment Act.
Comes from the Environment Act.
Environment
Actively
Act, yeah.
consider biodiversity and to demonstrate compliance. I think that's the wording.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you. And then we've got a couple of questions from Ruth from Doddington. And the first one was, she'd like to know.
Hayley.
Yes.
Sorry, can I just go back to that and add? I think I put it in the chat that the idea of this project isn't to create more work for parish clerks. We know that they're all incredibly busy, and the idea is it's from the ground up. So we're trying to engage with community groups and find the leaders within those groups to do the work. But what would be good is that parish councils endorse that happening, so that, because the other sort of ultimate gold standard is that this information feeds into an existing neighbourhood plan, or any neighbourhood plans that are due to be created. So whilst we don't want to create extra work for the clerks, it's good for it to go to a committee, to the parish council, for it to be endorsed.
Phil, can you quickly introduce yourself, just so that people realise?
So I'm Phil Clark. I'm the biodiversity team manager at the county council. So this is one of the projects within my team.
Thank you. Okay, so we're just going to move on to Ruth's question, and Ruth's from Doddington, and she just wonders how you sort of came up with those first phase things, because Doddington isn't included in phase 1 when Wimbledon is.
Yeah, so it was a kind of multi-metric, lots of different inputs into choosing the parish. Oh, Phil, did you want to answer, or do
I can do, yeah.
yeah.
Can do. So there's no bias in it. It's just purely based on some of the parishes or the town councils. We already knew that there were things happening, so we wanted a mix of parishes where there was lots happening and some parishes where there weren't things happening. And also we wanted them to be together, because obviously nature moves, doesn't recognize parish boundaries. You know, it will move between habitats. So it also allowed for close collaboration between those neighbouring parishes. So it was based on some information about where we'd already had some experience of working with the parish, or where we'd got a site ourselves owned by us that we knew we were doing things, but also based on where we thought there was already a good concentration of groups, community groups doing things, and also from looking at the local nature recovery strategy where there was already lots of habitat already identified, or the polar opposite, not much identified, so lots of white space, because this is a pilot. So what we want to learn from it, and then that helps build the business case for releasing the second phase of money for us to demonstrate how it's been successful. There's a demand. Having said that, there's nothing to stop neighbouring parishes to get involved. So, you know, we couldn't do all the parishes in one go. We would love to have been able to do that, but we had to make sure that we could achieve something within the time we've got at the moment. So it was all about capacity and resources. So
we wouldn't have known anything about it, Philip, if Wimbledon hadn't actually been very friendly with us and actually sent us the details. That's how we found out about it.
Yeah, so I think it did go out to all parishes. I think that has been communicated to all parishes.
Yeah.
And the reasons why we selected only 5 per district. It's all about capacity really as well.
I didn't know whether neighbourhood plan came up into that at all, because Wimbledon and Doddington both have a neighbourhood plan which is 2/3 finished.
Yeah, no, not so. I mean, do get involved. If you're part of a group, if you've got groups that do come along to the events, because obviously we can't give you that sort of in-depth support, that hand-holding, but we're happy for you to come and learn from others and use the resources that we're creating.
Okay. Be advised, you'll have a job to shake me off from now on.
Good. That's what we like to hear.
Come join us.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
No, thank you for that. That's useful. Thank you.
Okay.
Ruth, you also had a question about Parish Online, but I think Stephanie's answered that one for you in the chat. And I haven't actually got any other questions. Has anybody got anything else that they would like to ask? Please do raise your hand. Oh, Elaine, yes. Oh, you're on mute, Elaine. No, I still can't hear you. That's better. No, I don't think I can. Do you perhaps want to pop your question in the chat? Sorry, Elaine, I can't hear you. I'm going to move on to Rosemary, who's got a question. Perhaps if you could type your question in the chat, and then we'll come back to you. Rosemary.
Hello. I'm a bit kind of laid back about this and hasn't really got itself into gear about things very much. I'm just wondering if you've got any recommendations about the best sort of event to hold to get a community in.
Yeah, definitely. It's good time. We've just we're just going out to tender for some extra help to help us put together a resource kit for community groups for these types of events. But a more simple, direct answer. So I think what's coming up in the groups is a really good sort of first thing to be doing is actually offering nature walks. That can be a really nice sort of starter to get people interested, and also just to hold a meeting, make sure that you kind of get invite people through lots of different channels and put up some posters, but actually just find out who's interested locally, because you might find that there's more, even if the parish council isn't hugely involved, there might be more people locally who are actually interested in setting something up. And Phil's got an answer too.
Well, I don't know if it's an answer, but I mean, 3 of their cluster parishes have also asked for extra support. So one is Isleham, and I say Anne's on the call, Isleham, Needingworth and Somersham. So we are creating, I won't call it a pack, but just a sort of a guide for how to organise a meeting where we try to gather as many sort of the organisations together, and perhaps the wider residents as well, to explain what this is about, but also to get them involved, and also to set up a nature recovery group, which can then either report back to the parish council or be one of their sort of standing agenda items to explain how everything's going. But that's something that we'll have ready by the summer, so we can share that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we've got a question from Nick, and I can't remember what parish you're from, Nick, I'm sorry. But when do you expect to be able to start supporting parishes in phase 2, please?
Do you want me to take that?
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
So when we first submitted the application to a Just Transition Fund back in 2022, in 2023 we then secured 4 years funding, but initially we've only got these 18 months because I for reasons of LGR and the uncertainty around what that means, we had just done a pilot project, which again is one of the reasons why we've only selected so many parishes. So part of what, in parallel to this project over the summer, I will be putting together a business case and going through all of the committees that I need to make the case for releasing the funding from April next year. So we will know by then. And I'm very confident, and I've got everything crossed, that we can demonstrate the demand, because as Sandy was saying, on top of the 20 parishes that we have, we've had an extra 37 saying they want to do this. So I think we can very easily demonstrate the demand for this project to continue. But then we will have to work out where it sits, because obviously if it goes ahead, we as a county council won't exist. We'll move into one of the unitaries, or it could go into the combined authority, or it could be another organisation. That's all to be discussed and agreed going forward. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yes, thank you very much. So the next question is from Martin from Aylesworth, and he's asked, what documents will be required for parish councils? I believe this will be mandatory under the Environment Act, and also our parish councils have been very active for the last 4 years. What evidence might be required?
What documents will be required? So that's difficult to answer, but yes, under the Environment Act, it does strengthen the biodiversity duty for all local authorities, and that includes parish councils. And as I say, there is a webinar coming up next month, which sort of outlines what the parish biodiversity duty is, and it basically aligns itself with the local nature recovery strategy that's been launched by the combined authority. So it will set out what parish councils need to do. So it relates to delivering against the LNRS. Also for BNG, which is biodiversity net gain. So in any developments that happen within the parish, they'll be looking to make sure that any BNG funding stays within the parish or close to, so that it benefits the parish. But there are also other responsibilities relating to planning, etc. And that was why sort of ultimately it would be good if it went into a neighbourhood plan, because then that's a statutory document, and all local plans will have to refer to neighbourhood plans, and that won't change under the local government reorganisation. All of those plans will still exist, and the biodiversity duty will still be relevant to the unitary authorities and parish councils. So, I mean, to try and answer your question a bit more directly, documents needed would be a neighbourhood plan or your own community stroke nature parish nature plan, because then that will set out what you intend to do as a parish council to improve, protect biodiversity within your parish.
And sorry, yeah, the second half of that question was about the evidence. Is there anything that the data that they should be collecting?
Well, I mean, some of the evidence will be within the LNRS, which maps where the existing areas of important biodiversity are. So that's things like your sites of special scientific interest, county wildlife sites, protected road verges, local nature reserves, plus others. So some of that data can be gained from the Cambridgeshire Peterborough Environment Record Centre, or CPERC. And sometimes a lot of that is free for parish councils, depending on how much you ask for. But in terms of evidence, mapping what you've already got, but then doing some surveys to see what isn't captured by the LNRS, because the LNRS was very top down and it focused on those already existing protected sites. But on the maps, you'll see that there's a lot of white space, which you would think, well, does that mean there's nothing there? Well, we know that's not true. There's lots of other sort of local things that are important to people. You know, it could be ponds, it could be you need more hedgerows, or you need to gap up hedgerows, or you can get your local school involved in things like swifts and hedgehog surveys and all of those sorts of things. And when we finished the paper, when the webinars happened on parish biodiversity duty, there will be a paper which we can share with you as well, which will give you some ideas. And the other thing would be to come and get involved with some of the clusters that meetings we're already having. That'll give you a better idea.
And Martin's just put in the chat that it's about
a
measuring
baseline.
a baseline. And
Yeah,
I think, yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, Sandy, your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that on measuring a baseline. So on our offers, we have a offer from a local ecologist who's offered to help with kind of baseline mapping. And she also recommended there's a Natural England data set called Living England that she uses as a starting point for their habitat maps. And so we've asked for that to be added to Parish Online, and they've put that in. And so that's a helpful starting point for the areas that aren't in the local nature recovery strategy, so that haven't been identified as a priority. If you want a full view of your parish, that's there as a starting point. But then, of course, you want to do more detailed baseline surveys as well.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I was just about to say that's it, but we'll do this one last question. And will the work inform the next iteration of the local nature recovery strategy, filling in more of the white area?
Yes, that's very much the intention. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. I am going to bring my presentation back up then. Oh, I've gone right to the beginning. So I just want to close by thanking everyone for coming and participating, and yeah, big thank you to Sandy and Phil for sharing their knowledge and wisdom with us all, and Stephanie, who's been very quiet but busy in the chat. And I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to remind you that Cambridgeshire Acre is a membership organisation, and the reasons why you should consider joining us if you haven't already. So membership gives practical support when you need it, whether that's telephone or email advice from our team, regular funding updates, or discounts on more in-depth consultancy and training. You also become part of our online members network and receive our monthly Staying in Touch newsletter, so you can keep up with what's happening across rural Cambridgeshire and pick up our ideas on what you might want to try in your own community. Members get invited to training, workshops and events just like this one, where you can learn, share and build those really valuable rural connections. We're also keen to shine a light on the amazing work happening locally, so we promote member projects through spotlights and case studies wherever we can. And of course, as a member, you'll have a voice in the organisation, including a chance to vote at our AGM and help to shape our future direction. But more than any single benefit, membership is about being part of a wider movement that's making real, tangible difference. Together, we're helping create stronger, greener and better connected rural communities across Cambridgeshire, and we'd really love everyone to be part of that. So I just thought I would pop on the screen 2 further sessions that you might be interested in joining. On Tuesday the 26th of May at 5 o'clock, we've got Closing the Gap, Cancer Awareness and Early Diagnosis in Cambridgeshire. And on the 8th of July, we've got Rural Affordable Housing in your parish, which is a special event as part of Rural Housing Week. And we really hope that there'll be an event in June, which we'll announce very soon. If there is a subject that you'd like to see, you just need to tell us so that we know to organise it. But if you know now, please put it in the chat and we will try our best. So that is it for today. Thank you all very much. Thank you again to Sandy, to Phil and to Stephanie. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to Alison for all her back of the scenes arranging. And yes, we hope to see you all again soon. If you've got any questions, any inquiries, pop them in the chat or send an email to us, and we will be circulating the slides tomorrow.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Hayley. Thanks, everyone.